Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Check out our podcast also below in the description.
The Chiefs got better on offense. Turns
They
out
did?
the guy Patrick Mahomes told him to draft, he was right about him, John. Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah. I sometimes it feels like a story just gets thrown out there like,
I know.
Now, granted, everyone was watching LSU and the guy
Yes.
was awesome. Like, I don't blame them. And now, granted, you like Clyde. Everyone who watched LSU liked Clyde. Like, Clyde was sweet. He is sweet. But I didn't realize he'd be this sweet, this fast in the league. Like, guy, the last time their offense, because Mahomes wasn't as good as he is now, but his first year starting, they did have Kareem Hunt, who was, before he got in trouble for kicking the girl and then kind of somehow resurrect his career, and now he's got a contract extension and everyone applauded it, that he was pretty unreal, right? He could run in between the tackles. He could catch the ball. And it was like, what can this Chiefs offense not do? What happened? Mahomes won the MVP.
Yeah.
Is it safe to say this offense now, because Tyreek's better, Sammy's clearly much more comfortable in this offense. They've drafted Hardeman since. They got Robinson, who's good. Kelsey's in the peak of his powers. Their own line solid. Clyde, I mean, he ran for $138 in his opening game.
And he didn't have a catch, right?
He did not have a catch.
Which he can do. Like, one thing, and we, like you said, we watched every game at LSU. In this offseason, when we did it, before the draft, we did a Joe Burrow video on YouTube. And so we watched a ton of LSU tape back, and he was making plays left and right. Clyde was, right? You go, oh my God! Like I knew he was good. I didn't quite realize until we went back and watched Burrow how many plays this guy made beyond what would have been just the acceptable result of the play. So now they go from winning the Super Bowl with like a LaShawn McCoy running back by committee thing.
Yeah, the one guy opted out.
To this.
Yeah. I don't even quite know how to describe him. I know Andy has described him before like a Brian Westbrook. He does now. Shady McCoy in Philly peak with Andy was much more, his change of direction was more like Allen Iverson crossover. Like, it was really wide.
Mm-hmm.
This guy does have a fantastic change of direction, but it's all in this little area. Like, he like kind of gives you a little head nod, and then he's right by. Remember Tim Hardaway's crossover?
Mm-hmm.
He actually didn't dribble that far away. It was really close between his legs, but it was so quick, and he was so low to the ground he'd go by people. That's what I think this guy's kind of like. He's really shifty, but he's not shifting that far left or right. But it's like these guys are clearly whiffing on him. It's hard to even describe. You just have to watch it, and then you watch it. You're like, I don't even know how he made that guy miss, but he clearly made a miss. It feels like he's 5'4", right? When he's running, he's clearly a little taller than that, but 5'8". He's tiny, but he looks fantastic. He looks like an NFL bell cow. Is a little strong, but
Well, he doesn't look like a bell cow just because
he doesn't look like a bell cow, but maybe
guess
he
who
plays
was a
like
bell?
one.
Like, I'm not going to say he's this guy, but remember LaDainian Tomlinson? He was a bell cow. Like, that's the beauty of this offense is one guy doesn't have to be the bell cow, doesn't have to do everything. Kareem Hunt had 14 touchdowns that year that you're talking about, 7 rushing on over 800 yards running the football, and then 7 touchdowns receiving. So I think one of my favorite parts of, like, all the stories you would tell me from when you were scouting with the Eagles was just this idea that you would spend all this time getting ready for the draft. You would select a player. You'd talk about the player. You'd talk about the player. You'd sign him. He'd do a meet and greet. He'd get his jersey. He'd do his press conference. And then you would just have the first practice. And after the first practice, people would go, I think we nailed this pick, or I don't know. Hopefully he's better tomorrow. Like, that concept that you always described to me was always so fantastic because there was just this moment of truth. So here's this guy who we watched at LSU, and this is the question people have about Joe Burrow. Like, we saw it at LSU, but is that going to translate? So we watch Clyde Edwards-Helaire on Thursday night, and everything we saw at LSU translated. Like,
because you think it can't be that easy, right?
Right. You just think, well, he can't be exactly what he was there because these guys are better. But he plays for Andy Reid, and he's got Patrick Mahomes, and the team around him is really good.
Yeah, he just made the Texans look like Mississippi.
What's the other thing? Are the Texans?
I don't think they're terrible. They might not be 10-win team, but they're not a 4-win team. They're probably 7, 8, 9 range, right? He was running over running or linebackers. Or maybe it was a safety where I was like, God, he just trucked that guy. He was making a miss. He clearly, his play speed's fantastic. They just didn't really have this guy last year. And they won the Super Bowl. When they did have him, I think it's fair to say their defense got better last year, right? But their offense was clearly better 2 years ago, the year they lost to the Patriots. That was, he won the MVP, he threw 50 touchdowns. Remember, Kareem got cut toward the end of the year, so it kind of changed them right at the end. But when they had Kareem up until the majority of the season, their offense was just unstoppable. If this guy is this good, he's basically just, they got their Kareem Hunt version, who's like a high character guy that they clearly love. With all their offensive guys have much more cohesion together. Mahomes, to me, I mean, he would tell you, they'd tell you, it's just clear he's better than he was 2 years ago. I don't know if the stats will reflect it. I just don't see how this offense, they might be in some games like Belichick when they had the historic offense just was in FU mode. Spygate just happened. They like ran it up the score. You could tell tonight like they just started to run out the clock a little. I don't know if they just won't be in FU mode because their goal is Super Bowl, right? It's keeping guys healthy. He won't be passing the ball in the fourth quarter if he doesn't have to. So they got a little Warriors vibe to me, like the 73 win team, where when you look at Steph and Clay's minutes, it was like, yeah, they were on pace for a 65-point game. And Steve was like, yeah, we pulled them after the third. We were at 40 points. Right. And this team already has that vibe to it. But I think what's so impressive is their body language. Mahomes, I was not worried about. Chris Jones, Kelsey, you text me tonight. You're like, well, Kelsey ain't just giving Kittle the mantle. Kelsey just got paid. He won a Super Bowl. He looked kind of like playing pissed off, didn't he?
Yeah. and I texted you that. Like, what's funny about that is I didn't forget about him, but I'm like, oh, are they going to get the ball to Clyde here? Are they going to get the ball to Sammy here? Where's Hardeman? And then all of a sudden there's an inside screen to Kelsey, and I go, oh yeah, there's Kelsey, right? Then they hit him again. Then they hit him again for a touchdown. And I just thought this guy is playing like he's got something to prove.
Well, you know who I forgot about? I was like, oh yeah, Tyreek Hill's on the team. And then like that last touchdown, Chris like, yeah, it was just a foot race, and he's across the end zone. You're like, oh my God, I got this guy too. I mean, it is an unfair riches, but to me, it all starts and ends. And Clyde is, I had this thought during the game, top 5 luckiest stretch of one college season, greatest season of all time, to go right to the Chiefs. I mean, it doesn't get any better. The transition is like, you just stay in football heaven. You're like, yeah, I'm just in football heaven. It's just going to continue.
I know.
Right.
He's going to sign as a free agent in 4 years with like the Panthers and be like, what is going on here?
To me, it's
paid me, but what is this?
The quarterback is just on a completely different level.
So, I mean, we've all heard the saying, right? It's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes. And I think that applies more in basketball than it does in football. Clearly the X's and the O's matter. But I think what makes Andy and Patrick Mahomes such a perfect combination is that we think that Andy, and this is Breeze, this is the same in New England for so many years with Belichick and Brady, Breeze and Peyton, is like you've got the guy who we think is one of the best at the X's and the O's, and then you've got a player who can be great with the X's and the O's, but also be great outside of the X's and the O's, and that's the indefensible. It's like, okay, Andy's going to outsmart the defense, but if he doesn't, it doesn't mean the play is over because Mahomes can make a play, right? And now I think one thing is clear with Clyde is they got a running back that has the same quality. Like, he's really good because he's Andy Reid's running back, but he might be really good no matter whose running back he is, because he has the ability, and I saw it all the time at LSU, he has the ability to make a play where there isn't a play to be made. And that, I think, is when it's scary, is it's like, even if you sniff out the play, even if you beat Andy, you didn't beat Mahomes. Even if you beat the defensive lineman or the offensive lineman, that doesn't mean you tackled Clyde Edwards-Helaire yet. And that's, to me, those are the combinations.
H is silent. H is silent. You did it right.
Helaire, sorry. Did I say it right or wrong?
But that's what Al said.
I know, it's good. I'm glad he said it because but to me, that is when you're like, all right, Scorsese can direct a great film, but sometimes DiCaprio might just do something that Scorsese couldn't have told him to do. And if he hadn't have done it, if he had just followed all of Scorsese's direction to a T, it would have been more than good. But you've got the combination, and that's what I think this guy is, and that's what's terrifying.
Well, this guy, they have clearly the best passing attack, right? They have elite skill all over the place and have the best quarterback. I think it's universally accepted. Chiefs, best passing attack in the NFL. Well, if you give the best passing attack in the NFL a legitimate running game, it becomes unstoppable, right? I mean, they're just and that guy can also really catch the ball, and you have the best screen pass caller of all time in Andy. It's really, I don't know if they'll be able to match it just in the way the season plays out, and I do think he'll pick his spots definitely after winning a Super Bowl, right? I think they'll have the big picture in mind. But if he did keep his foot on the pedal, they could have like the greatest offense statistically of all time.
Yeah.
Because they would have some games where you catch a team on they could throw up 60. Now, again, I don't know if they will. I don't think he's got anything to prove now. And I think I felt like tonight he was being too respectful of Billy O'Brien. It's like, just keep scoring, and he was just like, just give the ball to Clyde. That was not Andy. Typically,
I was thinking like, hey, lay off a Clyde. This guy Williams could use a goal line carry.
I wanted them to throw it to Hardman so bad, and
he wasn't in the game, John.
No, he wasn't.
Where was he?
I don't know. He's eating snacks or something. I hate fantasy.
Only one football, John. There's only one football.
No, that's true. I know. Clyde got them all.